It started with silence. Michelle Obama skipped a few high-profile events. Barack Obama showed up alone. Suddenly, the internet decided they must be getting divorced. The rumor mill spun fast. TikTok theories, Twitter threads, Reddit debates. Even news outlets began asking, is the Obama marriage in trouble? But then they spoke. On Michelle's podcast, MO, joined by her brother Craig Robinson, Barack and Michelle Obama finally addressed the rumors, playfully, emotionally, and with a kind of clarity that only legacy couples can deliver. This is the story behind the silence, the truth behind the speculation. And the moment the Obamas reminded the world what resilience really looks like. Part 1. The spark that lit the fire. It began in January. Michelle Obama didn't attend the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter. She also skipped Donald Trump's second inauguration. And while those decisions may have seemed personal, the public took them as political and marital. Barack Obama appeared solo. Cameras captured him walking in, greeting dignitaries, and sitting alone. And the headlines followed. Where's Michelle? Trouble in paradise? Obama marriage on the rocks? The absence became the story, and speculation became gospel. 2. The rumor mill goes global. Social media did what it does best, amplified the whispers. TikTok. The creators stitched clips of Barack looking tired or distant. Twitter users dissected Michelle's solo appearances. Reddit threads mapped out timelines, comparing public events to private decisions. Even celebrities weighed in. Jenna Bush Hager, daughter of former President George W. Bush, admitted she called her dad to ask about the rumors. His response? I don't believe it. It's not true. Actor Octavia Spencer called the speculation ridiculous. The whole world created these rumors because they weren't always in the same room. The internet doesn't need facts. It needs fuel. In Michelle's absence was enough. Part 3. The podcast moment they finally speak. Then came July 16th. Michelle Obama's podcast IMO dropped a new episode. The guest. Barack Obama, joined by Craig Robinson, Michelle's brother and co-host. The trio sat down to talk about raising young men. But before they got there, they tackled the elephant in the room. Craig joked, "Greater than weight, you guys like each other?" Michelle laughed. "Greater than that's the rumor mill." Barack added, "Greater than she took me back." It was touch and go for a while. The banter was light. But the message was clear. They were fine. Part 4. Michelle's clarity, the quote that ended it then. Michelle got serious. She looked at Barack. She looked at Craig. And she said, "There hasn't been one moment in our marriage where I thought about quitting on my man," she continued. "Greater than we've had some really hard times. We've had a lot of fun times, a lot of adventures. I've become a better person because of the man I'm married to." Barack, visibly moved, replied, "Greater than okay, don't make me cry now. Not at the beginning of the show. It was emotional. It was honest." And it was the moment the rumors lost their grip. Part 5. Craig Robinson's story. The airport encounter. Craig shared a story that summed it all up. He was at an airport in Wichita, Kansas. A woman approached him and asked, "Greater than what did he do?" Craig replied, "What makes you think he messed up? Why couldn't it have been her?" Michelle jumped in. "Greater than why didn't you just say, 'No one messed up'?" Craig laughed. "Greater than I wanted to keep the conversation going so I could tell you about it." Eventually, he told the woman everything was fine. Her reaction? She was so happy, you would have thought I gave her a Christmas gift. Part 6. The power of absence. Why? Michelle said, No. Michelle later explained her decisions. She said that for the first time in her life, with her daughters grown and her husband out of office, she felt free to make choices for herself. She skipped events not out of protest but out of peace. The interesting thing is that when I say no, people couldn't even fathom that I was making a choice for myself. They had to assume that my husband and I are divorcing. She added, "This couldn't be a grown woman just making a set of decisions for herself, right? That's what society does to us." Part 7. The public V's. Private struggle being a public couple is hard. Every absence is a headline. Every silence is a scandal. Every decision is dissected, Michelle said. Greater than we as women struggle with disappointing people. So much so that when we finally make choices for ourselves, people assume something's wrong, Barack added. Greater than these. Are the headlines I just miss? Then someone mentions it to me and I'm like, what are you talking about? Their marriage isn't perfect, but it's private, and that's what makes it powerful. Part 8. The history of their love. Barack and Michelle Obama have been married since 1992. They met at a law firm. She was his mentor. He was her intern. They've raised 2 daughters, Malia and Sasha. They've lived in the White House. They've written best-selling books. And they've built a legacy. But they've also struggled. Michelle once said, "There were 10 years where I couldn't stand him," she added. Greater than I would take 10 bad years over 30. It's just how you look at it. Their love isn't perfect. It's real. Part 9. Fan reactions. The internet responds after the podcast dropped. The internet shifted. TikTok creators posted reaction videos. Twitter users shared quotes. Reddit threads turned from speculation to celebration. One tweet read, Michelle saying, "I've never thought about quitting on my man, just healed my soul." Another said, "This is what grown love looks like." Even critics admitted. The Obamas handled it with grace. Part 10. The View reacts. Public commentary on Barack and Michelle dispelled divorce rumors. The View. The co-hosts broke it down. They praised Michelle's honesty. They laughed at Barack's jokes. And they reflected on what it means to be a public couple in a private moment. One host said, "Greater than they're the blueprint, not because they're perfect, but because they're honest." Part 11. The legacy moment. Not just a marriage. A symbol. The Obamas aren't just a couple. They're a symbol. For millions around the world, they represent what love looks like when tested, what growth looks like after hardship, and what partnership feels like in the public eye. Their relationship has been studied, praised, dissected, and doubted. But through it all, it's endured. Michelle's memoir, Becoming, revealed cracks in the foundation, but also how both partners showed up to patch it, not with perfection, but with commitment. Barack's own reflections speak to deep admiration, often humbly acknowledging Michelle's strength and grounding presence. That's the legacy. 2 flawed individuals committed to building something lasting. Part 12. Historical context. Presidential couples under fire. This isn't the first time presidential marriages have been scrutinized. Bill and Hillary Clinton faced media storms over infidelity. Ronald and Nancy Reagan were dissected for emotional performance. Even John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline had their private lives exposed. The difference with the Obamas: scrutiny came after the White House once they'd transitioned into post-political life, and with Michelle's rise as a solo brand, the separation became easier to imagine it, at least for the public. But context matters. Michelle's absence wasn't a red flag. It was a reflection of growth. Part 13. The evolution of Michelle Obama. Michelle isn't just a former First Lady, she's a force. From best-selling author to podcast host to wellness advocate, her post-White House evolution has been seismic. She talks openly about mental health, boundaries, saying no, and the importance of self-care. And for some, that level of autonomy felt unfamiliar. A powerful black woman choosing herself, it must mean trouble. But Michelle's choices weren't driven by conflict, they were driven by clarity, and that's what makes her quote so powerful. Greater than there hasn't been one moment in our marriage where I thought about quitting on my man. Part 14. Barack's humor. Honesty and humility. Barack Obama's charisma is legendary, but what sets him apart is his vulnerability. He jokes about marriage not being perfect. He makes light of being taken back. But behind the humor is reverence. His reaction to Michelle's quote said it all, greater than "Don't make me cry now." And the fact that he joined her on the podcast shows that he's invested in her world, not just inviting her into his. It's partnership, not performance. Part 15. The power of Craig Robinson, a brother's lens. Craig Robinson's perspective adds texture. As Michelle's older brother, he's seen the highs and lows. As co-hosts, He balances humor with depth. His airport story wasn't just funny. It revealed how emotionally invested strangers are in the OBAMs. It's a reminder that public couples carry emotional weight for their audience. People root for them, project onto them, hurt for them. And that's why rumors sting, because they don't just challenge truth, challenge hope. Part 16. Women's Choice vs. Public Assumption. Michelle's decision to skip public events sparked assumptions about her marriage, but it revealed something deeper. We still struggle to accept women's autonomy, especially when they've lived in service of others. As she said, "The minute I get the freedom to do things on my own terms, people think something's wrong." Not stepping away from love, she's stepping into herself. And the fact that Barack supports that speaks volumes. Part 17. The Psychology of Rumor Culture. Why do rumors spread? Because they answer questions we're too afraid to ask. Give form to uncertainty. In the Obama's case, their long-standing stability felt untouchable. So when Michelle stepped back, the narrative filled in the blank. But as the podcast showed, reality isn't binary, it's layered. Marriage is messy. Independence isn't isolation. Silence doesn't mean separation. Part 18. The fan theories. That got it wrong TikTok creators ran with theories, mapped Michelle's solo events against astrological timelines. Others claimed symbolic color choices hinted at conflict. Even wardrobe was analyzed. Greater than, she's wearing blue instead of white, it's a message. But it wasn't. Michelle wore what she wanted, tended what felt right, skipped what didn't. Not because of marriage problems, but because she had options. Part 19. The role of IMO, a modern platform for modern love. Michelle's podcast is more than content. It's communication. IMO allows her to address topics with nuance, without press spin. And having Barack on the show wasn't a stunt, it was substance. It gave fans access to their dynamic. Not in a curated interview, but in a living conversation. Barack joked. Michelle affirmed. Craig mediated. It was family. Part 20. Final. Fan reactions, relief, and reflection after the episode aired. The comment sections glowed. You two are inspiring. Thank you for showing us grown love. I feel better about relationships after watching this. Michelle's quote was pinned across platforms. Barack's emotion was clipped, captioned, and celebrated. And the public, once worried, exhaled. Part 21. Love in the time of headlines. What the Obamas reminded us is this. Love isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in kitchens, on couches, in quiet moments. And sometimes, it's not about grand gestures. It's about podcast banter and shared laughter. Their marriage isn't perfect, but it's enduring. And in a world hungry for drama, their silence proved louder than any headline. Part 22. The final word, what this really was. This wasn't a correction. It was a conversation. Michelle didn't issue a press release. Barack didn't defend. Craig didn't deflect. They spoke. They clarified. They laughed. And they showed us how legacy couples respond to speculation with clarity, not chaos. Outro. Starline's take, Michelle said it best. Greater than I've become a better person because of the man I'm married to. And Barack's reply? Don't make me cry now. They're not just surviving the rumors, they're reshaping what love in public looks like. This is Starline where the silence always speaks loudest.